Уважаемые коллеги, мы в основном...
Dear colleagues, we blame each other mainly. There is something wrong with the social sphere, there is something wrong with economics, but here we will boost ourselves. From time to time we need it. We blame governors mainly. The governors are responsible for the whole life cycle. It is a very responsible work. I wouldn't be governor if they offered to me. But if they don't ask you, it is a burden. It is a real burden, and today's event takes place thanks to governors. Russia initiated this competition, and 300 best practices were submitted from many regions of the Russian Federation. They were submitted to our attention. There are thousands of those best practices, and we need to follow those examples. We need to hand over awards and then promote them in further and further into other regions. We will show you shortly those best practices, and then we will have the award ceremony, and colleagues will share their opinions about the importance of those practices. I give the floor to Andrei Nikitin, General Director of the Enterprise. I see just a couple of words, dear colleagues, about the idea of this competition, how it was born in our daily work. We see in our daily work with the regions that we see that some regions are better than others, and that they have better practices than it is said in the legal documents. It is the best practice of solving social issues, for instance, and we speak much about the federal initiatives coming to the regions, and the federal center, the federal government, can also sometimes follow the example of regions, and they can use those practices on the federal level. So those practices can be used at a large scale. They are applicable in different territories of our country. We reported about that during the meeting of the supervisory board, and we were supported, and we decided to organize a competition, but in such a way that we have the possibility to speak with and to discuss with federal authorities and ask about their readiness to apply such best practices. We also established a supervisory board with the head of it, Mr. Kozak, and with all the interested stakeholders, public organizations, enterprises, entities, all those who are involved, who are entitled and are able to evaluate those practices. We did not expect such a huge flow of best practices examples. It was a pilot competition in many ways, and we have many good practices which were submitted. All of them are available, and we would like to promote all of them, not only the winners. And it seems to us there are many practices and expertise which are available for you. In a year, we will have an interesting thing. We will report to you on how we took those practices as examples and how they also are set into the federal legal documents. And we undertake these obligations, and we will fulfill these obligations during the next year. Public organizations took part in the competition, in the organization of the competition of promotion of such practices. Alexander Kalinin, president of the organization Apora. Thank you. It is a very interesting initiative, the Agency of Strategic Initiatives. and we know why it has been established. In economic sphere, it is not very easy to develop. There is a huge regulatory basis. There are budgetary restrictions. Despite this fact, in a number of regions, bright initiatives are born. One of them, and we discussed about that, private kindergartens, and it was not an easy project. There is a number of entrepreneurs on the regional level who are implementing projects in terms of establishing of mobile trade. We saw that as well. And despite massive restrictions, there are regions where those practices are implemented. We speak about the public and private partnership here, but we have to find those winners, people who want to do that and who are able to do that. And here we speak about their role, about regulators in regions. And in other regions, we have to bring this information. We have to promote this information. Then there will be a wish to win. And consequently, the quality of life of a Russian citizen will be improved. So it was interesting for us to participate in this project. We found for ourselves good friends through such projects, and we will support this initiative further on. Thank you very much. Now we will show you these projects in nominations, 3 projects selected for the final. Then we will announce the winner, and then we will have the awarding ceremony. The first nomination, social and economic policy. 3 projects, 3 final projects. Kirov region, pharmaceutical security for the population. Centralized purchasing of medicaments with the further security through pharmaceutical network with the balancing of prices. Udmurtia Republic, my school card, organization of payment for food in a school. It's a plastic card serving as key for personal information about a child and securing also the money of a child. And in these terms, that the money cannot be stolen from a child at school because they use this plastic card. Among governors, probably there are some governors, as they are dynamic people, they could take some small money or could take some small money from kids while being at school. Udmurtia, the second project, staging of Republican village sports games in Republic. They motivated for the establishing of stadia, indoor halls for ice hockey. 100,000 persons took part in those games. Now we will present the winner, the school card. Current situation, no transparency in the expenditures allocated for the food of children in school. Solution, a school card, automatic system of payment with the non-banking personalized plastic card with a chip without opening a bank account. Applicability of the card. Payment of food and personal preferences. You can use a card as a ticket for transport and as a model to form the schedule. Electronic schedule. September 2016, 103 schools in 14 villages and towns of Udmurtia are connected to this system. Additional services, accountability and reporting how many circles and additional educational establishments use the kids. Then we will work on further services, payment of all school needs. Nikolai Nikiforov, Minister for Mass Communication, please comment on that. I would like to congratulate the Republic of Udmurtia with this win. This project shows that through simple and not expensive technologies, and thanks to public and private partnership, you can achieve significant results for the society. We live in the century of social and technological revolution. There are many informational technologies and many high technological devices around us. This is our environment now, and we implement the technology which allows to kids, to teachers on the daily basis to secure their life and to make the daily life more comfortable. Those projects are needed for our country to increase the quality of life and the level of life. I would like to thank also Ishkom Bank, which was a private partner in this project. This practice can be distributed all over Russia. I heard that such initiatives exist in other regions. In order to achieve and to make accessible such high level of service, 14.5 million kids use this card at schools now. Thank you very much. Thank you. You said we can promote and to distribute this practice, and the ministry, is it able to help in that? A key role is belongs to business, to the highest authority of the region. As far as our ministry is concerned, we need communication, but all the stakeholders participate actively in this project. We distribute this project among all the regions and then villages and towns with a population over 250 persons. And through such communications, modern communication, we can also use electronic state services to decrease barriers for business. Since 2014, President Putin signed the amendments into the law on communication, and before the beginning of the session, there are many governors responsible for the regions of the Russian Federation. We spoke about the implementation of this project. This project is needed in villages and in smaller towns. Next project, accessible residential houses, modernization of the infrastructure, fire information in each apartment and in each house. It means the accessibility of fire services for families with many kids, and automatic to install an autonomous fire alarm in order to have the possibility to save people. Organization of the town competition as public initiative for the territory, My House, My Court, to improve the city, to make it more comfortable. We speak about the help of the authorities. You can take it in your own hands, and this movement began. Leningrad region, those are subsidies and reducing of costs for the mobile shops to service the villages which are far away. The winner is fire alarm in each house. 2,095 people were killed, and out of them 117 kids during the fire. So we have to secure the reasonable security measures. The applicability of autonomous firework alarms are needed. The primarily installation of a fire alarm for families with many kids and families which are situated in socially dangerous situation. Preventive initiatives of the all-Russian Society of Fire Brigades. 2016, 3,693 fire alarms were installed. 2017, the right to receive the support, 23,294 families. An important result of the implementation of this practice is the intensification of this work.
Одна проблема, что таких семей.
We do have, let's say, socially dangerous families, too many of them, and Ivan Belozertsev, the governor of Penza region, will support this project. There is no representative of fire brigade. Penza region didn't become a region. Our project is our house, our courtyard. 2 years ago, we began with the implementation of this project. We improved the territories, installed the kids' stadiums with the help of budgetary funds. Then we also involved citizens into this work. We discussed about the improving of territory of our houses and courtyards, and people also were involved and contributed to the improvement of their territories. In Penza, through 1 year, we improved over 1,000 courtyards, and we installed over 10,000 kids' small-sized pitches. And together with the people, we celebrated, for instance, a day of courtyard, a day of a street, and we told a story about people living in those courtyards, in those houses, who lived before we lived there. We spoke about the best doctor, the best teacher, about people working there, and unfortunately, sometimes people do not know about themselves, even if they live in the neighborhood, and it gives them the possibility to get closer. Therefore, when we have large political forums, people are active. Historically, it is so, and we try to solve the issues, the social issues of our citizens. I would like to thank the Agency of Strategic Initiatives. And sitting here, I thought that in our regions, in Penza or in other regions, without any doubt, we have many regional and municipal best practices which we can distribute among other regions. I saw also from this presentation and from this material, when I saw those practices, I wanted to come back to this electronic card, which is functioning now in Udmurtia, and about firework alarm in each house. So we are facing the same challenge. People are killed during fires. We use technological solutions, and we have to use modern state-of-the-art approaches in order to face this challenge, and we have to analyze the best practices of other regions to apply it in our regions.
A third nomination, development of human capital, key best practices for managing culture amongst young people. 3 nominees: Volgograd School of Social Activity. Number 1, designed for retirees, elderly people, in order for them to overcome they're being passive, they're being isolated, they need to be informed about what is happening on in town, and they have to maintain a dialogue with the local governments. This is about a system of measures aimed at meeting their cultural needs, improving their health, and helping them realize their creativity. The second nominee is Leningrad Oblast, a mobile center for vocational retraining, which includes the use of personal skills to meet the requirements of the labor market. And the system reaches out to rural areas, remote areas, within the range of 20 to 30 years. Sverdlovsky Oblast is the third nominee. School, again, of political activity, which is designed to help people with eyesight challenges, and they also are supported in order to be part of the cultural life in their cities. This is the video that will show the winners. First, number 1, Sverdlovsky Oblast. Initial status, how to rehabilitate disabled persons. Sometimes it's not easy to help them materialize their intellectual and creative potential so that they can get access to cultural heritage of humanity in order to improve availability and accessibility of traditional values, so that and making sure that they're part of the social cultural space. Specialized projects were also launched in order to help people with eyesight challenges and ear impaired people and other without disabilities. Mobile theme exhibitions have been set up for people with eyesight disabilities. The results are as follows. Since 2013, 23 events have been conducted for people with disabilities. The number of participants involved in these came to 669 persons. Maxim Topilin, the Minister of Labor of the Russian Federation. So, what is your take on this? Do you have any ideas as to how to support this project? Thank you, says the Minister. First of all, let me express my gratitude to the respective governors of these 3 regions, and particularly Evgeny Kovashev, for giving him my congratulations on the successful projects. And indeed, supporting disabled people with disabilities is very high on our agenda, and this is something that we cannot help supporting. And back in 2012, I remember, right, like 5 years ago, I remember discussing this issue and both, our economic agencies and financial agencies were against Russia's ratification of International Convention on the Rights of Disabled Persons, because everybody believed that that would require a lot of funds to be made available. The whole system had to be reset. However, we came to realize that still Russia had to join the convention so that we could embark upon this complex journey, which is so that we can somehow make sure that our people with the various disabilities are involved in our social economic life, indeed, so that they are part of our normal lifestyle. This is something that has never been actually put on the table in Russia before that. So, but over the last 5 years, we've made a lot of progress, indeed, and particularly the way we have been doing our job is as follows. In 2010, we passed a new strategy, accessible environment, which actually embraced all of the measures aimed at making people with disabilities life easier, right? Because there's some people with hearing impairment, people who cannot see well, and therefore this is a wide range of various approaches that we have looked into, and we have been trying to apply. So now best practices have been accumulated, and this is something that we are enshrining in our legislation. Last year, a new piece of legislation was passed on the basis of these best practices, coming from bottom to top, actually. Law 419 was passed about libraries, about elections, about communications and transport, and various kinds and types of transportation. Over 20 laws actually regulate now the way various people with various disabilities can use, right? And just a couple of days ago, we have completed working on how to finance this strategy. We're talking about several billion ruble worth of investments, or other subsidies that will be made available to many regions. Those regions that are implementing such programs in our governance know what I'm talking about. We require the regions in questions, in fact, to make sure that people with disabilities can use not only just types of transport, but there has to be like an integrated approach to this, right? So to make sure that everything is rolling. And roadmaps have been developed for many regions across the board, covering all of the spheres and sectors. The idea is to make sure that every person with disabilities has access to all the services, including transportation, communications, and so forth. Not that we have to be, of course, cautious in this, but anyway, due to some budgetary constraints, we need to work on a step-to-step basis in a gradual fashion. This is my personal opinion, but I see a lot of people nodding their heads because they also agree with what we assess and how we assess. But I believe that every year we need to make sure that we apply such co-financing instruments and tools and make sure that those roadmaps actually complied with using new ideas so that we can make more progress on this. This is my understanding. This is the way. This is something that has never been possible, in fact, with regard to accessibility and availability of all these services to people with disabilities. And I'm sure that we'll be able to be up to the task sometime in the future. Nikolai is working in the communications sector. We develop various websites for the blind people, and in fact, we do find a lot of stories that enable us to pull the whole system and make sure that we make their life easier. And their life, of course, is complex. I mean, people with disabilities are affected, and there's a lot, and therefore we need to make sure that they live a fully fledged life. And I would like to thank the governors present here. And if you ask me what the ministry is going to do to support these practices, yes, we keep including them into our strategies, and a special tool has been developed. And like I said, these provisions have been incorporated in our legislation. Andrei was right. And now we are collecting new stories for the next package of amendments and changes into our current legislation to make it more friendly, to make our life friendlier to people with disabilities. Thank you very much. So that it's done in an automatic mode. Thank you, says the moderator. We're just making only first steps. There's a long way to go with regard to, of course, making disabled person's life easier. In the past, there was nothing was being done, but whereas now, at least the ball is rolling now, right? And now, next nomination, involvement of societies in the decision-making process when it comes to key decisions for mission, organization, support to small and medium-sized businesses, when it comes to procurement. Right, we're talking about municipal contracts, right? Procurement contracts. We're talking about just regular citizens coming up with their own ideas how to improve their municipal environments, their urban environments. We're not talking about a lot of money. This can be seen just from where it's said by everybody. So, Hanti-Mansi autonomous region is the next next nominee. Again, relying on social society, making sure that the system of good governance is transparent. And so present here are representatives of that region. And the idea is to make sure that every public official is brought to accountability and can handle questions asked by the public. And number three, civil initiatives. A very important issue indeed, again having to do with social procurements, how small and medium-sized businesses can be supported, and this information/organizational support is being rendered not only by the federal center but also by respective regions of that. So why don't we watch now this short video about the three nominees. Number one, Hanti-Mansi Autonomous Region. So Hanti-Mansi is a vast region with low density population, which doesn't make it possible for active citizens to be heard and promote their initiatives. How to solve this issue? Well, best practices should be introduced as to how to select managers of socially oriented structures, whatever citizens, so that make sure that citizens have access to public officials, and the selection is conducted in three number of stages. Number one, documents are filed, elections take place, debates are aired, and then as a result, five heads of four departments were selected, and other public officials. Also, election the process involved 100,000 citizens, and sector-specific conferences covered 500 delegates from professionals, expert communities, and also thousands of people took part in tele-debates. Mr. Solzhenitsyn, if you have anything to add. By the way, we're running out of time, so please, yes, indeed, very short. There was another great achievement, indeed, that somebody was found to replace the word crowdsourcing. So the new word was found to replace this borrowing from the English language. Fine. Now, all of these initiatives fill me with joy, and this is something that actually we should be proud of, which gives us this great example that civil society is not something that should be discussed, should be spoken about, but this is something that should be done, right? And our outsourcing company actually has always been happy to support this. And we take pride in having been part of this to promote and advertise this experience and best practice. What needs to be done actually at the federal level, so some thought should be given to what needs to be done in order to spread the word, in order to not only just to encourage people to do so, but also to make sure that they do this. And so, and so encourage is a good word, because instead of prohibiting something or preventing people from doing something or just stopping them from doing something, instead, why don't we just encourage them to good things, right? Instead of just keeping them from doing bad things, why don't we just encourage them to do good things? This is exactly what all these projects are about. It's about sharing. This is about making everybody's life easier. This is about promoting our exchange of information. This is about strategic communications at the end of the day. Thank you, says the moderator. Now, our next nomination is effective budgeting. And again, we have three practices. Number one comes from Nasaha, Yakutia, Yakutia at the 21st century, reconstruction of critical infrastructures that are of social meaning. And the next nominee is reconstruction of the embankment of the Don River along the Begoregova Street, which is an example of PPP partnership, public partnership, and covers a number of facilities, including cafes, water management facilities, and so forth. So Rostov is a beautiful city. The River Don also is something that we need to be admired by. So number three, Tula Oblast came up with a project that is referred to as People's Budget. At the expense of this budget, drawing on legal and physical persons and municipalities and individual entrepreneurs, a number of projects have been conducted. So the idea is to together we're stronger, right? In order to achieve something positive for the sake of the people, to the benefit. Number one, starting from the end. The initial condition, overwhelming majority of towns and villages do not have enough fiscal capacity and financial capability in order to address their own issues. How to solve this issue? Why don't we just bring together all of these budgets generated by municipalities, including personal savings on a pro rata basis? The stages for the project are as follows. Number one, inhabitants had a meeting together and prepared a whole package of documents and filed it with the regional administration, asking for regional subsidies, and selection projects was conducted, funds were raised to finance the project, and a statement of reception of results was signed, and everything was done on a voluntary basis. Results of this budget has been growing steadily for the last 5 years, and here are the facilities that have been built or repaired. Well, I live in Moscow. We just had to fix our roof that had a leak, and I was impressed indeed. Well, we live in the middle of capitalism, but we had to cover 5% of the cost, and 95% was covered by the Moscow government. Well, this does not just look like capitalism; it looks like socialism. So let me thank the Moscow city administration. Okay, moving on. Oh, I'm sorry. So this, yeah, the winner is. Okay, hold on. The budget. Oh yeah, fine. Back to Mr. Azarov has something to say about this nomination. As a regional parliamentarian, first of all, I would like to congratulate everybody on our event. This is something that gives a good message, and Andrei should be. I'd like to deserve a special thank you, and our team has been fast in running this contest. We've had so many contests. Our colleagues are running a contest about how to develop the spirit of enterprise. There's this All Russia Council that is running context amongst best practices for municipal administrations. And our context has its own positive sides and something special about it, right? And we learn from each other. This is about getting people involved in addressing their and solving their own issues at the municipal level. And the winner of this context, people with budget coming from the Tlusk River, meet all of these requirements, and this is not a novelty, and everybody present here should be aware of the fact that we have a lot of opportunities. By the way, how to organize this operation is something of a different nature, and there's a special resolution issued by the Tula Regional Administration. There's a lot for us to learn from, and this year this project has reached a qualitatively new level, so I would like to thank the minister and the governor here. You know, we keep reinventing the wheel all the time. Instead, what happened here is that people just built on best practices instead of reinventing the wheel. And the moderator mentioned this small change. Robbing, right, at school, so there's no need to rob anybody. I just put down this couple of notes here. Let me throw at you some statistics. 450 municipal highways were built, 93 facilities were beautified, 39 municipalities, 70 parks, and 32 kindergarten playgrounds and so forth have been built thanks to this cooperation amongst local communities and municipal administrations, and therefore, and I would like to congratulate on you, and no wonder that you won the elections, as a matter of fact.